About our honorees. Daniel A. Zarrilli, P.E., Senior Director, Climate Policy and Programs, and Chief Resilience Officer. New York President's Award for Service and Leadership. As the Senior Director of Climate Policy and Programs and Chief Resilience Officer for the City of New York, Daniel Zarrilli has been instrumental in shaping and delivering on the city's integrated action on climate change.
This is both a challenging time to be in New York City, but also an exciting time. We're changing the physical reality of New York City and how we're facing down the threats of climate change by upgrading our coastal protections, dunes and other natural infrastructure and the wetlands that we're expanding all across the city, but we're also coating our roofs white and expanding our green infrastructure, planting more trees, all of that can help address the rising risks of heat as well.
Dan's role in the development of a more sustainable and resilient New York cannot be underestimated. He has pushed the city to be more innovative, more responsive, and probably most importantly, more collaborative in its response to natural disasters and climate change. After Hurricane Sandy made landfall in October 2012, Dan was a key leader in the NYC Special Initiative for Rebuilding and Resiliency and developed the city's first coastal protection plan in a stronger, more resilient New York. This groundbreaking report addressed the impacts of Hurricane Sandy, the threats to New York City from future climate impacts, and identified what the city can do to prepare for and mitigate these challenges. These efforts established New York City as a leader in resiliency planning, and in 2014, Mayor Bill de Blasio appointed Dan to lead the newly formed Mayor's Office of Recovery and Resiliency to ensure some of the hardest hit areas of the city were rebuilt to withstand a range of climate threats.
Hurricane Sandy was the worst natural disaster that has ever hit New York City. 44 lives lost, $19 billion in damages, and lost economic opportunity. It was a really important moment for us to take stock of our vulnerabilities to make sure that we are investing to better prepare for the risks of the future. Climate change is exacerbating our natural hazards, whether it's storms, sea level rise, or the increasing heat that we're going to see in the summers. And so we crafted a plan to invest heavily, over $20 billion, to make sure that we're building a more resilient city by upgrading our coastlines, upgrading our buildings, strengthening our infrastructure, and better preparing our coastal communities and all of our communities for the risks that are coming from climate change.
In his current role as the Senior Director of Climate Policy and Programs and Chief Resilience Officer, Dan leads the city's One NYC climate change initiatives that not only protect New York City from the impacts of climate change, but also reduce our contributions to the causes of climate change with programs that work to dramatically cut the city's greenhouse gas emissions from buildings, energy, transportation, and waste sectors. Through projects like the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project, which will create a reimagined public park and reinforced berm along the southern end of Manhattan, the launch of Cool Neighborhoods NYC, a $106 million initiative to curb the effect of extreme heat and protect against the worst effects of rising temperatures, and delivering the first ever city plan to meet the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. Dan is guiding and shaping the future for New York and its residents. Through his many roles at the forefront of environmental planning and policy, Dan understands the future impacts of a changing climate on New York City and is striving to meet those challenges head on while creating a stronger, more resilient New York for every New Yorker.